Hello and welcome to the introduction and instructions for module number one for CTE 4260, occupational analysis and curriculum development. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll share my screen, and it will come up with the home page for the course, first page where you go into. And just as a reminder, I have attached, recorded the first meeting, and also that meeting went over the syllabus, the assignments, and the expectations for the course. So that is up there. If you were not able to attend the meeting, it is available for you. So we'll go into module one, and there's two ways to do it. First one is through the Getting Started page. And that gets you into module one. The other way is to come in through the home page. You can go on here and click. You can also click the title of the module. So here we are in module number one, and with each of the modules, I'll share a picture I've taken over the years, especially the last 5 to 10 years. And the first one, I took this outside of Casper, Wyoming, on the way back from a trip to the Midwest a couple years ago. So we'll go through this, and you're watching the module or the module recording. This is from another time that we offered it. So this will be changed. The recording will be changed by the time you get in and are watching this. First activity is read chapter one of the textbook. And we're going to go in here, click in here. And I provided what I call an outline and things to consider. And the first thing is the outline of the chapter, and the chapter is going to go over apprenticeships, then the evolution of manual and practical training, and then go into philosophical views of career and technical education, vocational education, starting with Booker T. Washington, and then two of the major philosophers, researchers in the early 1900s was John Dewey and Charles Prosser, and I'm going to provide the theorems, his theorems in the Canvas website. And then there's a big debate, and the authors of the textbooks talks about that debate between Dewey and Prosser. And Dewey saw vocational hands-on learning more for the individual, and Prosser looked at it as preparing individuals for the occupations and with the occupations that society needs with the skills necessary in order for that individual to be successful. Prosser also was an advocate for separating vocational education from the other parts, the so-called academic parts of our educational system. And it's going to go into the authors are going to go into federal legislation. Starts with the Smith-Hughes Act. Actually, and you will learn this in CTE 351, 551. Federal legislation goes back to the Civil War with the Morrill Act, which established land grant colleges. But authors in this textbook didn't go that far back. Starts with the Smith-Hughes Act, 1917, and that was the first time the federal government provided specific funding for education. And it was to create vocational programs, agriculture, home economics, engineering, and business were the early vocational CTE content areas. Then the Vocational Act of 1963, and that was to help keep our country, the United States, keep us close and keep us ahead of the Soviet Union with the space race and other technologies that were being developed, created back in the early 1960s, and that was signed into law by President Johnson. Then the current legislation is the Perkins Act. We're on Perkins 5, and that was named after Carl D. Perkins. He was a U.S. congressman from Kentucky. President Reagan signed the first Perkins Act, and we're now on Perkins 5, which President Trump signed in his first term. And then some things to consider as you read through the first chapter. Why is this important? Before we get into uh, analyzing an occupation, the occupation you teach, and then turning around and creating uh, the curriculum, why should we understand the historical and philosophical foundations of CTE? Next thing is Dewey or Prosser, and you may have thought about this if you've taken CTE 351, 551. Is it Dewey? Is it Prosser? Or do we use both to help guide CTE? Then the last thing, just have a quick, don't take a lot of time, visit with your administrator, your educational leader about the current Perkins. And maybe ask how much does your school receive in Perkins funding and what is it used for? So that's the outline to the first chapter of the textbook. Now I'll go back to the home page. Next thing is to read an article that I was the lead author on from a year ago, and we conducted research on the perceptions of CTE teachers and the COVID shutdown back in 2020. I worked with a group of CTE researchers, faculty members, scholars from around the country, Idaho, Oklahoma State, Illinois State, Pittsburgh State in Kansas, North Carolina State, North Dakota State, and also a school in Pennsylvania, University of Bloomsburg, which is in the Pennsylvania system. So download this article, and in particular, take a look at under the conceptual framework, the foundations of career and technical education, and more of the learning theory, the learning philosophy behind CTE and where it has come from. So we'll get out of that. And let me go back here real quick. Yeah, and here's here's the link. And then the last couple things are to complete the chapter quiz, the module quiz. And then to post your reflective commentary. And I posted mine, my 2 cents, on the activities of Module 1. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Any questions about any assignments, let me know. And that concludes the introduction and instruction for Module 1 for CTE 4260. Take care. I'll see you next time.